What's up, guys? Today we're going to be going over the Hawkmoon in PvE and be breaking down all the different perks that can roll on it, going over how the exotic perk works in PvE, and then finally making a really cool build with this exotic hand cannon. And this video will be all about PvE. I'm sure there's going to be multiple PvP YouTubers making great reviews on this weapon for PvP, so go ahead and watch one of those, and this one will be all about PvE. So first, one thing that is different about Hawkmoon compared to every other exotic ever is it has random rolls for the normal perks. The exotic perk will obviously always be the same, but if you look at some of those perks in PvE, there's not really much to talk about. It seems like the magazine is always alloy magazine, which obviously works really well with this hand cannon because of the fact that you want to shoot the entire magazine before you reload. But then in the left perk column, there is pretty much surplus, which I think would be the best for PvE, which will increase handling, reload speed, and stability for each fully charged ability. So I think that will be overall the best, but then the second best will probably be killing wind, which every single time you get a final blow, it'll increase the mobility, weapon range, and handling for a short duration. And obviously in PvE, you'll have that pretty much at all times. Now, outside of that, in PvE, it won't really matter what else you get, just pretty much go for max range. Then in the grips, pretty much whatever you need. If you're on controller, obviously you want stability. Then if you're on PC, probably handling. And like I mentioned, the exotic perk obviously never changes. And that one is final blows and precision hits with the Hawkmoon grants stacks of paracausal charge. I'm not sure if I'm saying that correctly, but hopefully I am. The final round in the magazine deals bonus damage based off the number of stacks. Stowing Hawkmoon on the final round removes this bonus. So if we first look at how this works in PvE, every single time you get a precision hit or a final blow, you'll get one stack of the buff. And whenever you swap, it does not go away. But if it's on the final round of the magazine and you swap, it will go away, so you can't stow like the full buff for whenever you want. Another thing is every single time you reload the weapon, you'll lose all stacks of the buff. And that brought me to trying it with Traverse Steps or something like that to get around that mechanic for this weapon, just like other previous exotic weapons. And unfortunately this time they finally got smart and it does not work. So whenever you sprint and reload with traverses, it will remove all of your stacks of the buff. So overall, how this works in PvE is you try to get 7 kills or precision hits, and on the last bullet it does, let's just say, a lot of damage for a primary. So if we look at the damage on Carl, first without it we hit 2793. With times 1, it'll go to 10945. With times 2, it goes to 11198. Then with times 3, it goes to 12291. Times 4, 15231. This is where it starts picking up. Times 5, 21435. Times 6, 32717. And finally with times 7, the highest you can get, 51292. That's a lot of damage. As you see, with times 6, it's 11.7 times the base damage. With times 7, it's 18.4 times the base damage of the hand cannon. And 51,000 damage in a single shot is a lot. So comparing that damage to some other things in the game, first with first and last out with Warple and also Major Spec, which Carl is a major if you didn't know. Look at damage with this. It's only hit for 28,969. So the Hawkmoon with times 6 is doing more damage than a Warple slug shotgun. Then with times 7 on the Hawkmoon, it's doing 80% more damage than a slug with Warple. Then with the heritage with recombination times 10 and major spec once again, I mean, this thing does crazy burst damage. Surely it's higher than Hawkmoon, right? Nope, 49,000. Hawkmoon times 7 is doing more damage than the new raid slug with times 10 recombination, a hand cannon. More damage. Okay, so let's try Izanagi's Burden. Surely there's no way Hawkmoon outdoes a times 4 honed edge, right? And it doesn't, which I would have been really surprised if it did. Izanagi's is 68,000, which is more than Hawkmoon times 7. So Hawkmoon times 7 is somewhere between a slug times 10 recombination and Izanagi's Burden, which for exotic hand cannon, you know, kinetic primary, doing more damage in a single shot than times 10 recombination slug, which slugs are the best specials in the game. Yeah. Okay. So this thing is, you know, kind of decent. So overall in PvE, Hawkmoon for the first 7 shots is just a normal hand cannon. Then on the 8th shot, if you have times 6 or times 7, I mean, it turns it into a slug shotgun that has way more range because it's a hand cannon. The only downside of this is you have to sit through the first 7 bullets, which are pretty much a regular hand cannon with no damage perk, no nothing. And that is where this build will come into play and make the first 7 shots just as important as the 8th. So we're going to be using Chromatic Fire, which is when a light subclass is equipped, precision final blows with your kinetic weapon creates an explosion in the element of your subclass. So for this, we're going to be using Dawn Blade. I'm using Bottom Tree because of something I'll show off later in the build, but you can use whatever you want. And that will make it so we have a solar dragonfly explosion on every single precision kill with our Hawkmoon. So now the first 7 shots, you know, aren't just a regular hand cannon. It now at least has dragonfly. And obviously this pairs well with exotic perk, where on the last bullet you can pretty much one tap any major ultra in the game and it'll explode and kill everything nearby. So with Chromatic Fire, that turns Hawkmoon into a pretty good overall hand cannon. Then obviously on the 8th shot of each mag, it is pretty much a special weapon. But now, taking this to the next level, we use Wrath of Rasputin, which means solar splash damage final blows have a chance to create Warmind cells. And since we're using a solar subclass, all of the final blows will create a solar explosion, which means we can then create Warmind cells with Hawkmoon. And Warmind cells are the best ad clear in the entire game, and 2 other mods to enhance the explosions, the first one being Global Reach to increase the radius of each explosion. Then finally we have Rage of the Warmind, which adds solar splash damage to each explosion, which means the explosions themselves can then create more Warmind cells because of Wrath of Rasputin, and it's kind of like a chain that never ends. So now the first 7 bullets of Hawkmoon are definitely not average. You have Dragonfly and Warmind cells, so we pretty much turn Hawkmoon into a Seraph Ikelos hand cannon with Dragonfly. So really good ad clear on the first 7 shots, and the 8th shot is a special weapon. So with this build, Hawkmoon is pretty much a one-man army. You have really good ad clear, then it's pretty much a special weapon at the end of the magazine every single time. So it's pretty much one of the best primaries and specials at the same time. Then finishing out the build, we have Martyr's Retribution, which will be another solar weapon to create Warmind cells, then Falling Guillotine for boss damage. Then the final 2 mod slots to finish off the build, Blast Radius, that way we become Charge of Light on double kills with our Martyr's Retribution. Then finally with those stacks of Charge of Light, Lucent Blade for our Falling Guillotine for 35% more damage, and also the heavy tax. Another thing you can do with this build is once you get your super fully charged, you can change to Dawn Cores and pop it and have that really good burst damage super. So overall, this build turns Hawkmoon into one of the best all-around primaries in PvE. Just using Hawkmoon by itself, it is obviously really good on the 8th bullet. It's pretty much one of the highest dealing damage PvE weapons in the game, somewhere between Slugs and Izanagi's. But the first 7 shots are pretty much just a standard hand cannon. But with this build, it gives it Dragonfly. Then on top of that, turns it into an Ikelos or Seraph weapon and can create Warmind cells. So now the Hawkmoon has insanely good ad clear, then also pretty much is a special weapon built in at the same time. So with this build, you pretty much have a primary, 2 special weapons, and a power weapon. And one of the weapon loadouts I was using a lot this season was the Raid Slug with Recombination. And pretty much what I would use that for is every single time I'd get up to a major or ultra, I'd pull out the Recombination times 10 slug and pretty much one-shot them. But as you saw, the Hawkmoon with times 7 does more damage than even the Heritage with times 10 Recombination. So pretty much I could be using the Hawkmoon for the same purpose as the slug, but at the same time it's also a primary weapon for the first 7 shots. So it's pretty much the Raid Slug and the Ikelos hand cannon with Dragonfly pretty much all in one. And that is just one weapon doing all those things at once. Then I still have my Martyr's Retribution for even more ad clear and creating more and more Warmind cells. And finally my Falling Guillotine for boss damage. Then not to mention, if I swap over to Dawn Cores for my super on Bottom Tree, that is obviously a really good ad clear super and boss damage super. So overall this build is definitely like a one-man army type of deal, where the Hawkmoon pretty much does anything and everything you'd ever want it to do. So yeah, I'm definitely a fan of Hawkmoon in PvE. It's actually way better than I ever could have thought it would be. And I think if I played with it more and more and got used to saving the 8th shot for, you know, the majors and ultras in different spots and strikes, raids, whatever it is, yeah, this build is crazy. It's definitely top tier. Anyways, I think that's be it for the commentary. The rest of the video will just be some strike gameplay. Anyways, thanks for watching. Catch you guys next time.